Valerie.
You knew there was absolutely no way they could give you a true sense of the levels.
Valerie.
I was to be decorated this year, honoured, with my picture on the wall. I couldn't just throw that away. And I wanted to believe it could all be salvaged. Truly.
You should never be forgiven, Victor. But you might not be the only reason we're here. What I suspect is true. There isn't an innocent man in the building. I think this is going to catch up with us all.
Alan? Boris, we've got the temperature readings through from the chemical boys.
We have our own problems, Valeria. The Swedish have just reported radiation in their atmosphere.
Fire temperature is not falling. I can promise you that's a far more concern of the Soviet people than anything the Swedes can throw up. You remember the furnace effect on the floor beneath the reactor? Well, as far as we can work out, the fire's already burned halfway through this floor towards the water. When the temperature reaches 2,900 degrees, the uranium dioxide will melt and either burn or run its way through to hit the water.
The thermal explosion.
It would be enormous.
Far greater than anything we've seen. It will level 200 square kilometres. It will also totally vaporise the fuel in the other 3 reactors. Most of Kiev would perish, and the Dnieper and Pripyat rivers, which supply, 30 million people with water, massively irradiated.
Northern Ukraine and most of Belarusia would be uninhabitable for anything up to a century.
This must not go beyond this room. Tell Viedov to keep monitoring it, and Negasov, I want a plan.
Find a couple of wetsuits, as thick as possible. Just keep them on standby until we need them. I am a committed communist, but as the days unfold at Chernobyl, I begin to see a face of the Soviet people that even I had stopped dreaming of. There's no fuss, no waste. A further 116,000 people are evacuated, a decision that would have taken months, taken in minutes. After years of stagnation and self-serving bureaucracy, there's now only passion and an almost brutal decisiveness. In the committee, we start using the phrase counting lives when a suggested task comes with a figure of how many men might be lost getting it done. The responsibility not to make mistakes, not to waste life is a terrible privilege.
Ready? Radiation's up.
2 million cures yesterday, 4 million today.
Shit!
What does this mean?
It means it's getting hotter. A lot hotter.
We're heading for meltdown.
Unless we can clear the water from beneath the reactor, the explosion we were talking about is inevitable.
What options do we have?
Well, we have to count lives. The firemen again, to pump out the vents in the basement area. We also need to open these gate valves in the bubbler pool. The problem is they're underwater. Highly radioactive water. I've ordered some thick wetsuits, but we need a couple of volunteers to swim down and open them by hand.
We've seen so many walking dead and sent so many to their deaths, but never with such certainty. We tell them the truth, and they trust us. Is this task essential? Then there's nothing more to say.
They've entered the building. Confirming the dive team is inside Unit 4.
I don't believe there are even a handful of nations in this world that could still produce such unquestioned sacrifice. So 1941 all over again, when the Soviet heart was exposed to the Nazi invasion. It's the same lack of readiness, same desperation, the same courage.
Yes to that. Confirm that water has cleared the lower chambers. There is no immediate threat of thermal explosion. Repeat, no immediate threat of thermal explosion.
We triumphed, and 1 million lives were saved. But I could already see what lay ahead. Years of clear-up, of investigation, and of blame.
Don't hug him, don't kiss him, and don't touch him.
I got out of bed yesterday, and the skin on my leg slipped down to my ankle like a loose sock. The roof of my mouth done for me, but I'm so sorry. Everything hurts so much. But I feel this guilt. It's worse than the pain.
14 days after the explosion, the first radiation victims, the men from the control room, begin to die. Many see this as a kind of justice. But the truth is